in one of my videos, I spoke about wanting to make a watercolor palette and how I'd seen on Pinterest somebody had made this really cute watercolor half pan palette out of an old tin. And I've got so many old tins. I'm such a hoarder with this kind of thing. And this I got, I think it was in Pastimes. I used to work for Pastimes. I don't know whether anyone remembers that fantastic shop. I worked for the one in Southport. It was amazing. And I got this tin while I was working there. It's so cute. I used to smoke. And I used to keep my cigarettes in here because they all fit in perfectly. It's so cute. Are you a good witch or a bad witch? And it's got like the little Wizard of Oz on the back. But which way is the way back to Kansas? And it's got like that iconic cover, like all of the like important characters. I wish it had like on the sides, or like whether it had like on the bottom, it had like the Tin Man and like the Scarecrow and the Cowardly Lion. I'd love if it had that, but it's all the lovely ladies of Oz, even the Wicked Witch of the West. So I was like trying to come up with ideas and like trying to think like, oh, do I want to just like buy some more half pans and like put them in? Because I don't really want to touch this palette because this is like the palette that I use all the time. But I thought I want to do something a little bit, you know, kitchen unusual. So what I thought I could do was maybe try and make a palette based on this tin, like the color palette of this tin. So I was trying to figure out ideas, and I've got all of these watercolors, all of these like the Daler-Rowney artist quality watercolors, and I don't really like using tubes. I've had them for quite a long time now, and it's just kind of like getting to the point where I'm like, what am I gonna do with these paints? Like I need to do something. And I seen a video where somebody was actually using, well, there's multiple videos online of people using watercolors and squeezing them into the half pans, letting them dry, and then obviously just using them like a half pan, because once they're dry you can reactivate them with water. So what I thought I could do was maybe mix some of the colour and mix my own half pans. So I've ordered some half pans off Amazon, I think, yeah, off Amazon, and they were £10 for 50. It was £9.99 for 50 half pans. So I want to do a few different palettes. And what I thought I could do is mix the colours. So I'm thinking I'm going to want a yellow, a green, a blue. So that's like 3 colours. A pink, maybe 2 pinks, 2 pinks, 2 greens, 2 blues, 2 yellows. And if I kind of look at the size, I'm going to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'll probably be able to get them in easily, get 10 in quite easily. So maybe if I also did a black and a white as well, and I think that would make a really nice palette. And then maybe if I could fit another line in, I don't know. I'm not sure whether I want to do that or whether I want to put in some like little travel brushes. I'm thinking what I could do as well on this side, because I don't want to really be mixing like onto the metal, is make an insert out of Fimo and maybe like varnish it so it doesn't get like all messed up. I don't really know. I need to like, it's going to be a trial and test. So this whole video is just going to be me testing things out, seeing how they go, seeing what it's like, and let's get on with it. Okay, so I got my little parcel of the little half pans. Oh, they're so cute. So I am going to try this first with I've got 2 blacks here. I'm going to go with the lamp black over the ivory black. Ivory black has got a brownish tint to it, where lamp black has got more of a bluish tint. I feel that the lamp black would just go better, like a bluish tint would just go better with the overall like aesthetic of this. So from what I've read, it's important not to get air bubbles, and you've got to let it dry completely. So I'm trying to do this as slowly as I can, just like filling the entire tube. I did watch one video where the person talking said that sometimes you get cracking, and if that happens, then using vegetable glycerin will sort of help kind of alleviate that issue and try and keep the paint a little bit moist. But I'm hoping, because these are artist quality, I'm just dropping this trying to bring any bubbles to the surface, which I kind of am seeing. I don't know whether it's showing up on the camera. You can kind of see like there's little white bits glistening. They are air bubbles. So I'm just going to keep dropping this, bringing all those little air bubbles to the top. Okay, so I'm going to put this in a safe place and wait for this to dry completely, which I have no idea how long that is going to be, but I'm going to wait it out and see what happens. So my camera decided to stop filming as I started the first part of this process. So I'm making a base for the palette to make the yellow brick road. So I thought it'd look really cool if all the little half pans were like set into like the yellow brick road. So it's such an integral part of the story. I mean, like, you've got the song where they're all going, follow the yellow brick road, follow the yellow brick road, follow the yellow brick road.
Follow the yellow brick road.
And I just think it'd just be such a cute idea. Now, I've never done anything like this before. I've done like little bits with Fimo, but it's not something that I've really like put much time and effort into. And I've kind of always wanted to be able to do these sculptures. I always see people like Christine McConnell and everyone using these like this Fimo to make like loads of amazing things, to like customize stuff. So I was like, do you know what? I'm gonna try and make the friggin' yellow brick road for me palette and just go like next level. Like, let's go. Like, honestly, like, how cute is this as well? I got this little Winsor & Newton travel brush, and I just thought, you know what? I'm gonna pop that in the tin as well. And I actually like dig out like a little well and like stick it in there. So I'm just like, yes queen, look how cute that is gonna look. Can you imagine when it's gonna be painted? So let's get on with a bit of Wizard of Oz trivia. Originally they wanted Dorothy to be played by Shirley Temple, but the studio that she was under didn't really want to lend her out to MGM. And I think the reason why MGM wanted it was because she was a huge child star. She was 10 years old, so she was more close to the age of what Dorothy was supposed to be. And thank goodness they went with their own studio darling, Judy Garland, who had the talents to play this role, because unfortunately, Shirley, as cute as she was, I don't think that she had the musical range to perform the songs that they really wanted her to perform.
She doesn't have the range.
But unfortunately, this film for Judy Garland would be the beginning of all of her struggles with drug abuse and like her mental health issues. The studio focused so much on her weight. They would have people following her around, like monitoring what she was actually eating and consuming. I read that they literally let her only eat chicken soup, coffee, and smoke cigarettes. Like, that was like her diet as like a 16-year-old growing girl. That was what she was told, that they were the only things that she was allowed to consume. And like her mother, like both her and Mickey Rooney at this time, they would be given tablets, like amphetamines, to keep them working for like 72 hours straight. And then they would be given a pill to sleep for like 4 hours, and then given more amphetamines just so they could work again for like 72 hours. So these poor kids were just worked to the bone. So here is the completed palette just before it's been baked. I kind of made like a little divot in there so I could put a travel brush, and then I also want to kind of scoop out a little bit so you can get your finger either side so you can lift that out. And what I've done was I baked it for 30 minutes. I think it was on 130 in the oven. So it's like quite a low heat. As long as you don't exceed 130. I kind of read that after like doing this, like it's sound. And I thought I'll do a base coat in white. Just, I think if we put the yellow straight onto the brown, it would have just looked muddy. So I just thought I'll give it a little wash in white, and then I'll go further into it with yellow ochre. I always say ochre. It's probably ochre. I think it's ochre, but I always say ochre. And then I went over it with cadmium yellow just to kind of give it that like ping and pizzazz, just so it like brightens, because obviously it's the yellow brick road. Follow the yellow brick road. Just like thinking about the plot of The Wizard of Oz, I feel like so bad for the Wicked Witch of the West. Like, I know that this is controversial, guys. I know it's controversial. But you think about it, right? The Wicked Witch of the West turns up, sees that her beloved sister, the Wicked Witch of the East, has been squished to death by some random teenager who's like, I'm sorry, I didn't do this by accident. Sorry, I don't care if you did it by accident. Bitch, you just killed my sister.
It was an accident. I didn't mean to kill anybody.
I mean, like, if you'd squished my sister, like, we'd be having more than words, do you know what I mean? It's like, girl, I kind of empathise with this situation. Like, I really do. And Glinda, like, she's no help. She's, like, fully, like, reveling in this whole situation. She's just like, oh, sorry your sister got killed, but what about the ruby slippers?
Forgetting the ruby slippers? Slippers. Yes.
Like, I'm not being funny. Glinda knows what's going down. She's, like, getting the Wicked Witch to walk over there. She's going to see them go away. She starts losing her mind. Like, I'm not being funny. Look at her. She's, like, shook. She's like, where have they gone, bitch?
It's too late. There they are, and there they'll stay.
Can we just appreciate how Glinda's wand literally looks like something that you buy at Smithy's, or like something that you'd have when you were 5 from like the pound shop, where you'd be like, Mom, I want to be a fairy, Mom, please.
Back. Keep tight inside of them. Their magic must be very powerful, or she wouldn't want them so badly.
Like, I'm not being funny, Glinda. You know what those shoes do. You were proper setting Dorothy up here. Like, genuinely, I think that Glinda's the baddie in this. Like, poor Dorothy turns up. She's, like, so out of her depth. And then she just, like, leaves her. She's like, see you later. I'm getting off now. Hope you're okay, Dorothy, hon. You'll be sound. Don't you worry. You got your ruby your ruby slippers. I'm not gonna tell you how you wear them. Just know that they're powerful and don't let them fall off your feet. Okay, hon? You got it? Have you got it? Have you got it? Yeah, you've got it. You got it. You sound. You're sound. Have fun. Bye. So Glinda just abandons her and then leaves her with all the munchkins. And then she's just got to, like, start fresh. She's got to crack on. Just get on with her life. She's, like, stuck in this magical world. Doesn't know what's going on. The only thing that she knows about is the yellow brick road. So here is my yellow brick road. How cute does it look? Like, all the little inserts for the half pans. Like, I can't even. I'm actually, like, really made up with the way it's turned out. So this hasn't completely dried, but you know what? I'm just going to crack on anyway. It's only been 24 hours. So here we go. I'm going to start picking and mixing some colours. So with this, I'm going to be mixing some colours and then I'm just going to be using some out of the tubes. Like, I know that that's cheating, but some of them are just perfect. And it's like, you know what? Don't, you know, fix something that's not broke. So I'm using here, I've got like a magenta, and I thought that that would be like a really nice colour for That's a Horse of a Different Colour. You know, when Dorothy and her gang of friends turn up to the Emerald City, and then they get into the horse and carriage, and there's that horse that's like purple, and then it's like gold, and it's green.
What kind of a horse is that?
Do you know that they actually dyed those horses and then they used Jell-O to dye those horses? Like, how insane is that? Hashtag animal cruelty, like, what the hell? But yeah, I really don't know how this is gonna start. Like, guys, like, you are coming with me. We literally are all in this together. Yeah, well, let's just see how this goes. But let's go back to talking about the Wizard of Oz, because I'm enjoying that right now. Oh my god, so fun fact about the Munchkins. Apparently, they would get loud and crazy when they weren't filming, to the point where they'd be going to the local bars, getting completely wasted, getting in fights, just being like, you know, crazy, unruly, like mad people, and then just literally got thrown in like jail. And MGM would be going down to these jails and like bailing them out, to the point where it was happening that often that they had to like give these Munchkins a minder. The Munchkins had a minder. There was a Munchkin minder on The Wizard of Oz. Like, it's just insane. But like, oh, there's like that conspiracy theory that when Dorothy meets the Tin Man, in the background, I think it's like when they're like dancing off into the sunset, like to go to like the, you know, to go to the Emerald City. In the background, apparently, you can see one of the Munchkins hanging themselves. Now, this has been debunked, and apparently it was like one of the cranes that they had was like flying by or something like that. But when you zoom in, it's awful. It's terrifying. Ooh, awful. It's all about like the Tin Man. Obviously, Dorothy can't get to the Emerald City without the help of her 3 trusty pals, the Scarecrow, the Tin Man, and the Cowardly Lion. And that's one thing I really felt like this tin, it didn't have like the representation of those like amazing characters. So what I thought I'd do is I get this picture, I cut it out to the size of the lid, I laminated it, and then I glue it in place because I just thought, you know what, it's gonna look so cute. Like, look, oh my god, look how cute that is. It's so cute. I just love it so much. Every time I open my palette, I get to see these 3 like lovely characters. Here it is all laminated just to make it waterproof, because obviously it's a watercolor palette, there's going to be gunk going on, so I want to be able to like wipe this down. Good thing about watercolor is it isn't permanent, so it reactivates with water, so you can literally just wipe things down. Like, I mean, I'm really funny, the state of the desk here. This is all watercolour that I've just not bothered to clean. It's okay, though. It's a studio desk. It can be a mess if you want it to be. You can let it all be, you know, gross. So Buddy Ebsen was actually going to be playing the Tin Man originally, but the way they did the makeup, they actually used aluminium powder. And he inhaled this aluminium powder and had such a bad reaction to it. Obviously, because he's inhaling metal, he nearly died. Like, he was in such a bad way from ingesting all of this like awful like powder. And they fired him. It was like, imagine like nearly dying because they weren't clever enough to figure out that, you know, you shouldn't, you know, inhale metal. And they just replaced him, and they replaced him with Jack Haley, which, don't get me wrong, I love Jack Haley as the Tin Man, but I just feel like Buddy Ebsen should not have just been fired, and like, he obviously risked his life to be part of this film. And Jack Haley, they used a paste, so it kind of still be like that like aluminium like reflective kind of like feel, but they used a paste instead, and he had bad reactions to that as well. So it's really scary when you think about like the old studio system. And they all had issues with the scene, you know, with the snow where they're in the field and the Wicked Witch of the West has poisoned all the flowers, and then Glinda the Good Witch kind of sprinkles all of the snow so it kind of wakes them up. That was asbestos. That was asbestos because they'd use it because it wasn't flammable and it had like the appearance of snow. So they were literally lying in a bed of roses coated in asbestos. Like, crazy. Like, I can't even imagine. Like, I just can't even. And I do feel sorry for Judy Garland. Like, I really do. Like, at the end of the day, she's like a 16-year-old kid. She's working with all these adults and she's being expected to act like an adult. And there was one scene where the Cowardly Lion just kept making her laugh, like, over and over and over and over. And the director got that mad that he took her to one side and slapped her in the face and told her to go and, like, do her job. And, like, after, like, he did that, he felt, like, so guilty that he was, like, trying to get somebody to, like, punch him in the face, like, afterwards. But it's like, you just slapped a 16-year-old girl in the face. Like, you're gross. And Louis B. Mayer, oh, my God, he called her, like, a fat little pig and a little hunchback. Like, how terrible is that? So awful. This poor 16-year-old girl is like obviously like growing up, she's got all like these anxieties of like genuine like just being a 16-year-old girl, and he was calling her like a fat little pig and just making her eat chicken soup and smoke ciggies and drink coffee. Like, I'm not being funny, can you imagine that now? Like, I don't know what, like, who's like a Disney star that's like 16. Like, I genuinely haven't got a clue. But like, imagine like some Disney exec being like, you can only smoke cigarettes and drink chicken soup. We need it to be tiny, a size 0. Like, it just wouldn't happen. It wouldn't happen. It's just like, oh, it's so grim. And talking about things that are grim, let's talk about Margaret Hamilton, who played the Wicked Witch of the West. I feel so bad for her, like probably like the worst out of like all of the cast, really, to be honest. So the paint that she had, that was actually made out of copper, so she couldn't ingest any food during filming, so they were kind of like giving her a straw to like, you know, drink like soups and like milkshakes and stuff. But even then, she's still going to be ingesting this like copper makeup, so that made her ill. And then in the opening scene what we had before, where she comes on, she's like having a chat with like Dorothy and Glinda, and then she leaves in this like big massive ball of fire. The lift failed, so when she goes down and the pyrotechnics come up, that lift failed and she got caught in those pyrotechnics, so ended up with like horrific burns all over her body. And the worst thing about this studio is she was only in the hospital for 6 weeks because of the pressure that she had to return to work. She returned after 6 weeks. Her hands were so burned that the studio had to provide gloves for her. Like, can you even imagine? And what's even scarier is her stunt double. When she was doing one of the pyrotechnic stunts, she got caught in the pyrotechnics as well, so she ended up with third-degree burns too. Like, what? Insane, right? Like, can't even. So let's get back to like what I'm actually doing here. When I was coming up with the idea for this project, I had a chat with my friend Ellen about like what she thought, and she was like, why don't you name the colours like a makeup palette? So I've got I'm Melting, because I thought like a little bunch of black melted black clothes. Professor Marvel's Crystal Ball, to kind of reference the start where Dorothy meets Professor Marvel and he's telling her fortune. We've got Kansas, because of the start of the film, I thought it was the closest that I'm going to get to like a brown, so it's kind of referencing like the sepia like tones from the start of the film. And then we've got Follow the Yellow Brick Road, obviously bright yellow. Emerald City, Wicked Witch of the West, That's a Horse of a Different Colour, Glinda the Good Witch. We've got Dorothy, and then like the grey I mixed up to be like if I only had a heart. That's like, you know, for the Tin Man. And There's No Place Like Home for the Ruby Slippers. And honestly, like Ellen's suggestion with like naming the colours, because first I was just gonna like glue some half pans into like the bottom of the palette, and without like her suggestion of like naming the colours, it kind of elevated the idea. And I think with like being in art school, you kind of have this like great source of like knowledge where you can speak to your colleagues about things and kind of get their perspective on what you're doing. And it'll end up like, I mean, like with this, if Ellen hadn't said that, it wouldn't have elevated my idea and my thought process to kind of think, oh my god, this could be so much more than just sticking a few half pans in the bottom of a palette. I can name the colours and make it more of like a makeup experience. I was like, I love like when you see like a makeup palette and it's got like so much thought and, you know, everything behind it. And obviously this isn't as grand as that, but it's my version of like, you know, what I can do. And I think I'm actually like gonna take this further. But like, thank you, Ellen, so much like for giving me like that like little bit of inspiration. Honestly, Ellen is so funny. She's like one of my best friends and she's so creative and so talented. Like her portraits are crazy. If you're on Instagram, go and follow her. It's Ellen Webster Art, I think. I'm gonna like put a link here. Well, I'll give you the name, so I don't really know how to link into videos, but I'm gonna put like the name of her Instagram. Go and check it out. It's absolutely amazing. But we're actually talking about doing a collaboration video. We're gonna kind of think, we've got a few ideas like in the pipeline. It's been a little difficult, obviously, with lockdown. So we're trying to think of like ways that we can kind of make these videos, and like one idea where we've had is like she'll do her filming, I'll do my filming, and then we can kind of combine like the two videos together. So that's in the pipeline, so that is going to be happening soon. So you have to just like watch out for those videos. I should really talk about what I'm doing here. So like another idea I had for the palette was to make like a little mixing palette. Like at the start of the video, I said I didn't really want to be mixing like onto like the tin. I just didn't want to do that. So again, Fimo trial and error. I thought I'd have a go at trying to make a palette. So I bought this stuff, it's liquid Fimo, and it's kind of like, I think you can use it like a bit of like a glue, like a bit of an adhesive, a bit of a varnish. It's kind of like a bit like resin. So what my idea is I'm going to get the palette, I'm going to get it all baked, and then I'm going to coat it in white acrylic paint. Because obviously when you're mixing your paint, you don't want to be doing it with a brown background. And I thought I'd use like a glitter, like a green glitter, like the way I lined the inside of the tin with, I'd use like a pattern for that as well, like on the back, so it's just kind of like keeping in with the theme for like the Wizard of Oz. So it's like a bit of a Emerald City mixing palette, and it's super tiny and super cute. But again, thought paint it white, see what it looks like. I did try to do this, and I tried to like embed the green background into the theme. I saw a video on a lady doing this, and it just completely went wrong. The palette actually snapped in half. It was just terrible. So this is like my second go at doing this. I thought, if I put in the fail, it's just going to be too much footage and everyone's going to get bored. But if anybody wants to see that, please let me know and I can send it to you. But let's get back to some more Wizard of Oz trivia, because I mean, hello, that's why we're all here, because of the Wizard of Oz. So, the Cowardly Lion, oh my days, he had some suffering of his own. So poor Bert, he had to wear that costume, which was actually made out of a real lion skin. This costume weighed 90 pounds. So under those Technicolor lights, he was sweating to the point where he had two assistants. Their specific job was to dry out the costume overnight so he could wear it the next day. Like, imagine the smell of that. I think it sold at auction. I think it might have been about 6 years ago, and it sold for something crazy like 3 million. All I kept thinking about when I found out that it was like obviously still intact was the people who must have been restoring this costume, you know, and just doing like general restoration, just kind of keeping it like up to scratch, because sweat damages fabric. It kind of can cause it to be discolored and weaken. So I don't even know like what they would have been doing underneath, whether they were applying a fabric underneath. I'm always interested in restoration and how artworks are kind of kept, you know, up. Like we were watching some program on the BBC actually recently. I think it's called like Lost Artworks, and they were showing like the restoration process. So interesting. I always think like when people are applying like paint to works of art over the years, like how much of the original painting is still left, and does it become a replica? That's something that I find quite interesting to sort of think about. But obviously if it's just little touch-ups, it's not. So here is the liquid Fimo. So what I'm doing is I'm just coating the entire palette with the liquid Fimo, because I'm thinking if I'm going to be mixing, I'm going to be putting water onto it. I don't really want like the acrylic getting stained and like all like gross. So I thought, you know what, let's go mad. Let's coat this entire palette with the liquid Fimo. I only put the oven on I think it was 110 when I was doing this, and it did harden quite quickly. And I was really shocked at like the actual like the outcome of this. In the end, I just ended up going over this with my finger, because the palette knife was just too much. So like I thought like maybe putting like the paper, when I was putting the paper in the oven, I was very, very worried. I was like, oh my God, am I gonna have a fire? I had a bowl of water next to like, you know, the sink, like ready to go if it like set alight. But no, we were pretty lucky with it. It didn't. So 110, like keeping it on like a low heat, just keeping an eye on it, and it was absolutely fine. And you know what, gluing this on, like using the Fimo to like bake it on, absolutely fine as well, like not a problem. It was like I was kind of thinking to myself like, oh God, is it going to be like lifting and stuff? But no, it was absolutely fine. So the Cowardly Lion and the Tin Man were not the only people to suffer on this lovely film. Ray Bolger, who played the Scarecrow, he actually had indentations of the mask that he had to wear indented into his face for a year. Can you imagine that? And like Margaret Hamilton, she was dyed green for 3 months after this film, like 3 months. So you've got like poor Bert Law, who like sweated practically, you know, half his body weight away. Jack Haley, who had aluminium paste rubbed over his entire face. You've got Buddy Epson, who inhaled metal and nearly died. You've got Margaret Hamilton, who nearly ended up in like a ball of flames, basically ended up with like third-degree burns all over her body. And Judy Garland, who ended up with a drug addiction for the rest of her life, all from this beloved family classic. I feel like I'm ruining this film for everybody. Like, I am sorry if I mean, like, I'm assuming that people know this information because I knew this information. And I'm assuming that most people who are watching this are fans of The Wizard of Oz and they probably know this already. If you didn't know all this and if I've ruined this for you of your childhood, like, you know, I'm so sorry. I'm just going to apologize now. I'm so sorry. Well, let's get your mind off it and I'll tell you what I'm doing here. So again, to elevate this project a little bit further, I thought I'd make a little booklet to put in the palette with just like a bit of information about the Wizard of Oz, make like a colour swatch in there as well. I was on Pinterest and I seen like somebody actually makes like these tiny little books for dolls' houses, and they'd obviously printed off the book and like they print off like the inside of the book, and it's the cutest thing, and it made me think like I could totally like do something like this like for you know, for my little palette. So I was looking, and because obviously the book is so old, the book's actually online, and I found a website where they've actually got like the front cover and the back cover and like basically the entire book on the internet as like a PDF. So I just took like the front and back cover, scaled it down to like so it'll fit in like I did like a few print offs just to see what was like the ideal size, and made my little booklet. I just kind of got some like sort of thick paper and I stuck it all together and just made this cute little book. I actually stuck quite a few pieces together for the front cover just to kind of give it that thickness and that feel of being like an actual book. And I printed off like other little images of the Wizard of Oz and kind of backed it onto the glittery card that I used in the other parts of the tin, just to kind of give it that continuity. And it just turned out like so brilliantly. Like, I'm truly shocked at like how good it actually turned out. It is a bit kind of handmade-y looking, but you know, it's for me, I don't care. And here I just printed off like the synopsis off Wikipedia. So it kind of gives like a bit of a brief like introduction to the film and kind of gives you like the rundown of like what happens. Put that on like the last few pages. What I'm doing here is I'm just kind of trimming it to kind of make it look like a little bit neater. But again, it kind of gives it that real kind of crafty handmade feel. But how cute did it turn out? Like, look how adorable. Like, I'm so made up with it, like I really am. And I just think like I'm gonna try and think of other little projects that I can do that I can kind of make into like cute little watercolor palettes, because I just think that I had so much fun making this. It really captured my imagination. And if anybody wants me to make you something like this, if you can kind of give me like an idea, like let me know and we can work something out and I can see if I can make something like specific for you guys. So here I am, I'm just like putting the palette together. I used Yoo-hoo glue just to stick it in. I was using super glue at the start of the project and I ran out and I glued my fingers together. I don't like using super glue. I am like way too clumsy to be trusted with like super strong glues. It was on my fingers for like 2 days. It was so hard. It was so grim. I hate it when you get it on your fingers. But with this Yoo-hoo glue, see, I've got it on my fingers there. But yeah, anyway, this Yoo-hoo glue, it's not as bad. It's not as like unforgiving. So I can kind of like move like the bits and like move them around. I kind of like just like laid them out just so I could get like an idea of where they were going to go and what looked the best. And I thought this arrangement, that was pleasing to the eye. Well, pleasing to my eye. I was quite happy with that. But I'm just so happy with it, with the way it turned out. And honestly, like, I've been looking at like different like tins, like just like basic Altoid tins, and I have got an idea to play with some resin as well, so I can kind of get a bit more bespoke and kind of design like the outside of the tin as well as the inside. And I've been speaking with my brother-in-law, and he's actually started working on 3D printing me like specific inserts. Obviously, if I want something super complicated like the way I've done like this with like the Yellow Brick Road, Vimo is gonna come in handy. But here it is. Here is the finished tin. So let's lift the lid off. Oh, look how cute. My heart just warms when I see that. And then we've got our little book. So we can be like, hello. Hi, Dorothy. Oh, let's look at all my colours. Ooh, look at this. It's amazing. Hi, Professor Marvel. Hi, Wicked Witch of the West. Oh, we're off to see the wizard, the wonderful Wizard of Oz. Oh my God, there's a horse of a different colour. Oh my God. And a little synopsis. Oh my God. And there we are. She's trying to like get the little slippers off her. No, bitch, you can't have them. They're mine. Oh, so good. And how cute is the palette? Like, I know it's a bit like it's a bit handmade-y, it is a bit crafty looking, but do you know what? It's fine. Colours were still a little bit wet when I put all this together. It takes ages to dry. So they're still not like fully dry now. Yeah, so we've got the little brush. And I thought this was quite cool. I know that it's a Winsor & Newton brush, but the original slippers in the book were actually silver. So I thought that is kind of a cute, having like the little silver, you know, the little silver brush kind of is a little nod to the fact that the slippers were actually supposed to be silver. But with the Technicolor, it wasn't really reading like silver. I think it was coming through as like just like grey, where obviously they're the main part of like the film. Like, they're the things that kind of get her home. Sorry if that's a spoiler for anyone, but come on, it's The Wizard of Oz. Everyone's seen this freaking film. So yeah, the original slippers were silver, but under the Technicolor it didn't read, so they wanted something that was going to be like pizzazz, ping, wow. So they went with ruby slippers, which is like, in all fairness, it's like, it's more iconic. It is so much more. I mean, like, look at that red. Look at that red that I mixed. It's so cool. And like, I'm just thinking, like, how cool would it be to actually go and do some like landscape kind of paintings, but using these colours and making it more of like a Technicolor palette rather than kind of earthy. I don't know. I think that's going to be cool. So that's like another little like video I think I've got planned, which should be like later. I think what I'm going to do, because I mean, I'm doing a lot of watercolour drawings, and I like the idea of having like studio Sundays, but maybe incorporating watercolour Wednesdays. I think I mentioned this last week, doing watercolour and watch, where I do a painting and I talk about different movies and different TV shows that like I like. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments about what you think. But yeah, I had so much fun making this. If anybody wants to collab with me and I can make something for you, please get in touch. I'll put my information down below, because honestly, I had so much fun making this. So stay safe, guys, and like the Munchkins say, goodbye, goodbye, goodbye.